Hey guys, it's Deborah. I just have so much cool stuff to share with you guys. Like amazing stuff, just fun stuff, exciting stuff. I feel like you're going to be a little bit amazed and just excited. And I was feeling discouraged. I've been going through things for the last little while, and I wanted to go into it and talk to you guys about it, and it just wasn't working out. I feel like the Lord was saying, like, just move on, just move on. And I didn't want to. I was going to just take a break and just take a moment, but he is not letting me. I'm just telling you. Oh my gosh. So there's so much cool, exciting stuff. So prepare. The reason you see 5781 is because I want to talk to you about the rapture tribulation starting in this year. I don't know, specifics, but I'll explain to you why I even want to bring up this year. And also 2020/2021. First, I just wanted to remind everybody who follows my channel that I had said my daughter had a dream. She's 12, and it related to the number 81. She saw a couple other numbers, but 81 was the number she saw. She knows nothing that we're in year 5781. She's never heard that ever. So, or if she's ever heard it, she would have no clue what it meant or anything like that. So I'm pretty sure she has no clue about any of this. But yeah, when she dreamt of 81, it was related to us being in the Father's house in that year. And I won't go back into the dream, but because of that, it really perked my attention. And I had seen that someone else said the Lord had showed them, a man said this, that the Lord had showed them that the 81st verse in the Bible, because he knew we were in year 5781. It was this guy who was on like a talk show, and he was talking about the year 5781, and he was a Christian, and he said the Lord had told him to look up the 81st verse in the Bible. I had talked about this before, but I just want to kind of recap a little bit and then like bring all this new stuff to you. So just stay tuned. Yeah, cool stuff. So anyway, he said the 81st verse in the Bible, the Lord told him to look up, and I don't have it on me, but the 81st verse you can look up if you go verse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, count it down. The 81st verse is about a birth. And the Lord said, see, a child will be born in 5781. And it's about Adam and Eve having their first son. Now we know that was Cain, so he wasn't good, but Abel came right after. So I believe in that there's going to be two births, the Antichrist as well as the man-child being caught up. But I think the Lord was just trying to point out there was a birth. And so the 81st verse in the Bible relates to year 5781, just like my daughter's dream, meaning I believe like Revelation 12. So this is just a little recap of a couple things. So for that 81st verse, like I said, it relates to the man-child being caught up, which is inevitably the rapture. So that's because of my daughter's dream and what that guy heard and a couple different other things. I really did think 5781 is the year. Of course, because of the fig tree prophecy, that's like my main thing. But in addition, these other things and many other things, but just the world around us. But that was pretty cool. But let's think about 2020/2021. Now, a lot of people are just like, it has to happen in 2020. It has to for a lot of reasons. So the dream that my daughter had, and then other things, I'll go into other things, made me think 2021 more than 2020. I'm not trying to predict anything. I'm just going through dreams and different things in scripture. I'll go through scripture and, prophecies and time periods and different things to help you to see where I'm coming from. But basically 2021 relates to me a little bit more to, well, there's a couple things. One, the fig tree prophecy, it's really the end. Like, it could go into overtime, but it basically is the end. But something else I wanted to touch on was the prophecy in the Psalms. So J.R. Church wrote a book about prophecy in the Psalms, and Pastor Sandy, if you guys follow his channel, is talking about that. And I know he is seeing Psalm 120 as our departure. I'm ready to go if that's the case. But let's read Psalm 120. It says, in my distress, I cried unto the Lord, and he heard me. Deliver my soul, O Lord, from lying lips and from a deceitful tongue. That is clearly 2020. Okay. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry. Like, basically, I've been talking about this for a while, that J.R. Church's book, Prophecy in the Psalms, talks about how from the 1900s to starting at Psalm 1, and then 2020 would be Psalm 120. Like, it works out like Psalm 1, 1900, Psalm 2, 1901, whatever. So basically, it would bring you to Psalm 120 being 2020. And he sees correlations, like there's like matchups throughout the years, how different, Psalms match up with different years. Now, I haven't studied it in depth. That's why I use a myriad of different like proof scriptures and things and whatever, like different things to supporting documentation or whatever. But to me, I see this to be completely accurate. Think about 2020 is the year of lies. Like, you have no clue what to believe. I mean, some things you just know in your spirit is true or lie. But other things you're just like, I just don't even know. I just don't even know. I'm tired of it, okay? I don't know what is the truth. And that lines up with 120. Now let's look at Psalm 121. And I know this is a recap for a lot of you guys, but there'll be some new stuff. So just hold on. There's new stuff. Okay, so Psalm 121. I'm not going to read it all, but this is like one verse. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. So, and then when you get into the Psalms after that, it starts sounding like the tribulation. So basically, this sounds like, so from this moment, from this time forth and forevermore, I'll preserve you. It sounds more rapture-y to me than 120, because Psalm 120 is just so accurate. We're living in lies. And that sounds more rapture-like to me. So if the prophecy and the Psalms are legit and they're, they're okay to follow or whatever, like, then that lines up. So I just want to give you a little setup of why I'm even supporting this time period at all. Like, why isn't it 10 years away? And there's so many other things, because there's a lot of other prophecies and things that we're looking at, like the last pope being the 112th pope. And well, just there's so many things, but let's just focus on these things. So another reason why I was supporting 2021 over 2020 is this. Okay, so the parable of the barren fig tree. So one day I was just frustrated, and I've never had a rapture dream. Like, I barely have dreams. I've never had anything like that to encourage me. People having rapture dreams all the time, whether it's true or not, I don't know. But all I know is I don't. And I'm like, Lord, I need something, because I was having a bad day. I can't remember exactly what happened, but this was like weeks ago, if not a month ago. And I was like, Lord, I need something. I'm begging you, please, just something. Like, I don't want to like ask for a sign, because that's a wicked generation that asks for one, but please, like, I need help. I'm just frustrated and I don't know what to think. Anyway, so I remember it was just a desperate moment. And all of a sudden, I can't remember the exact details of the moment, but it was just out of nowhere. I felt like that he just said the parable of the barren fig tree. Look it up. And I'm like, okay. And like, he's like, that's related to now. And that it started in 2017. So again, I hope I was hearing the right voice. That's what I heard. But this is what I heard, is that 27. So if you don't know the parable of the barren fig tree, I'm not going to read it, because I want to try to move on to the new stuff. This is still recap for people, but I think it's important because new people might be watching. So the barren fig tree is about, a vineyard owner or whatever. Maybe not vineyard owner. I really should have got that verse for you. But anyway, basically the fig tree owner, he came to the guy who tends to the fig trees, and he said, what's up with my tree? It's bad. It's dead. It's not bearing any fruit. And the vine dresser, or the guy who like takes care of the fig tree, said, well, I've dug around it for 3 years. 3 years I've tried to make this thing bear some fruit, and it doesn't. And then the owner of the fig tree said, okay, dig around it 1 more year, and then dung it, like throw like manure at it. And if it doesn't bear fruit that 1 more year, cut it down. Okay. This was so random. And I'm like, okay, so 3 years, 1 more year. And I felt like the Lord was saying 2017 to 2020 was the 3 years. I don't know why. Maybe it was just like this warning time period. And then 2020 is the dung it year. And think about it. 2020, it's like the year, throw everything at Israel. Israel's a fig tree. Try everything you can to get this thing to bear some fruit. And if it doesn't, cut it down. That would be the tribulation. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but I try to stand by. If the Lord shows me something, like, I hope, like, I don't know, sometimes people are wrong. Everybody thinks the Lord's saying something, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. I just prayed on it. And here's the other thing is I couldn't figure out anything about this fig tree. Like, some people have given me some suggestions, but I can't figure out anything else about these 3 years and one more year. Like, people were like, oh, it's when Jesus died and rose again, this and that, blah, blah. They were trying to give me time periods. I didn't find anything that really stuck with me. And this makes sense. And I feel like, how could I know this? He just showed it to me. So 2017 to 2020 would be the 3 years. 2020 is the dung it year, meaning like he threw, like, put the manure on this thing and tried, and look at them. Fires, extra quarantine. They're in it like even deeper. They were having like their second quarantine. They've been going through like no government, wars, like everything. So if 2020 is the dung it year, then it would make sense. So then it would bring you to 2020 to 2021, and then the tribulation would start. So that it lines up to me with the fig tree prophecy. And again, obviously, this is just a recap, but if anybody doesn't know, the fig tree prophecy is just where Jesus said, this generation shall not pass. So he said, look at the fig tree, look at all the trees when you see it starting to blossom. And I'm paraphrasing, and, it's whatever. Look at all the trees and the fig tree, and the fig tree is Israel. Then basically he said, when that happens, when you see the fig tree blooming again, which Israel became a nation and started blooming, then that generation shall not pass before they see all these things come to pass. So here's the thing is, what generation? It clearly wasn't the disciples because they died. So they passed. So what generation? So that's why people try to interpret it. I hope we're interpreting correctly that basically the fig tree generation is those who were born in 1948 and they cannot pass. And then, so what's a generation? We've come to terms, we believe it's 70 to 80 years. 120 years, people don't even logically live that long. 40 years was another generation, that's too short. 70, 80 is a very logical generation, and it's in the Psalms that it says that's a generation. And basically that lines up with, like I said, this barren fig tree prophecy, both fig trees, and the 3 years, give it one more year and then cut it down. Because the fig tree generation ends at 80 years. So if the tribulation is 7 years long, obviously right now Israel's 72 years old, and if they're 73, which would be in 2021, then it gives 7 years for the tribulation to be a full 80 years, because it says a generation is 70 years, 80 with strength. I'm just saying this fast because like 99% of you guys understand this. But anyway, it lines up with this barren fig tree. They matchy. I've never heard anyone else say that. So I'm going to recap. This is going to be a little longer. I'm trying to talk fast because I didn't want it to be so long, but trying to make it a little bit seeker friendly, just a little bit, so people click on the video, because some people don't have like 45 minutes. But okay, I don't know, it might be a little longer. So I'm going to recap a minute about something to do with why I think we're in the 11th hour, and that would make 2021 midnight. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, and then go into something even more new and cool. Okay, here's a picture of some twins, some super cute twins. They are not my twins, but I do have twins. And the reason why I want to talk about twins is because when I was learning about this barren fig tree and the Lord was talking to me about these 3 years and one more year, the video I had made, the video right before I had this like understanding or revelation or whatever, it was called, I don't know, Rapture, the 11th hour or something like that. It was called something, the 11th hour. We're in the 11th hour or something. And when I was like, Lord, like this barren fig tree thing, is this for real? And then he's like, what did you just make? You just made a video called the 11th hour, and you're in the 11th hour. And the reason I'm showing twins is because he said, remember your twins, how that happened. And I'll say it super quick, but when I was pregnant with twins, the doctors were forcing me to have a C-section. Nothing was wrong with them, but they just wanted to force it. Long story, but whatever, they were trying. And I was praying and praying. I had other people praying that I wouldn't have the C-section because of, I believe natural birth is better for their their health, their immune system, all this other stuff. But anyway, I also was scared of the C-section. I also had other kids at home, little ones, and I was like, how am I going to take care of twins, babies, and other little kids with a big cut and all this stuff? And I never had a C-section, and I didn't see the point in it. Anyway, so one day before my booked C-section, I went into labor. So I was all ready for the C-section because it wasn't stopping. They weren't listening to me. They weren't going to let me try another way. I didn't know about like, and midwives, I couldn't even use, I was planning on using like a midwife, doing a home birth and having it be like supernatural. And then I found out I was having twins, and like where I live, midwives weren't even doing that. And I was scared too, because I'm like, there's two babies now. Anywho, so I was being forced in the C-section. And the day before, I had labor pain, and I was like, no way. And I just knew. I was like, Lord, this is so you. You are so the 11th hour type of God. You are so like that. How many of you guys like have been in that situation where you're like, this situation I'm in is doomed. I'm doomed. Like nothing's changing. Like, oh my gosh, this is just, it's the end. And then right before the end, whatever the situation is, like all of a sudden he comes through for you. And you're like, I thought you weren't going to come through. I'm serious, because I didn't think so. Like a bill needed to be paid. You're about to be kicked out of your house or something. I don't know, losing a job and then no, you didn't have another job or something. I don't know. But it's like usually the 11th hour. It's like building your faith. So I go into labor, and the twin, they try to force me to have the C-section, even though I'm in full labor. And long story short, it took me no time at all to naturally deliver the babies. They came out so fast, they couldn't even do the C-section. Okay, let's just put it that way. They just came out faster than any of my other kids. 2 came out that fast. So the point is, the Lord reminded me of this, and he said, remember when you were praying for natural birth, and then, sorry, then, you one day before. Look, I waited to the 11th hour. One day before. You thought I was going to come through. I should have faith. And like I came through the 11th hour, and he's like, this is what you're in now. You're in the 11th hour. And it feels like this is like, Psalm 120. You're living with lies. It's so annoying and frustrating. And that would make 2021 midnight. Now I'm going to talk about something else first and then come back to this midnight. Oh shoot, my phone is dying. This is my only moment. My kids are in the bath. Oh my gosh. Like I need this moment. Okay. Hopefully I make it through before my phone dies. Okay. So, what was I saying? Okay. Yeah. So the 11th hour, let me show you something else on that. Okay. So Sister Holly from her channel, Holly Two Moons, posted this in her community post. She said, tonight I heard the words 11th hour in my spirit. Click on the image to get the full view. So basically what she said is she heard the words 11th hour, and she was brought to read this verse, this parable, I guess. So, it talks about, it says, and about the 11th hour, he went out and found others standing and said to them, why do you stand here idle? So this is where he talks about the hiring people, and all day long they work for like a denarius, and some come early in the morning, and then people come at the 11th hour and start working. And the people who worked from the day were like, I think this is in Matthew 24, I'm not too sure, but the people who worked in the day were mad because the people at the 11th hour got the same pay. And God said, like, why are you mad that I'm a gracious God, that I pay everybody the same or whatever? And this to me has always looked like heaven, where he's like, you may get saved, at the last minute, or you might get saved at you might have spent 80 years being saved and working your way through it. And you all get the reward of heaven and me and everything. So anyway, that was something that just popped up about the 11th hour. She just posted that like a day or so ago. And it really like just rang true in my spirit. I'm like, I forgot about that parable about the 11th hour, that, it's about heaven. And that's what he's saying to me now. And that's why he brought up my twins and everything. So I wanted to just share that she had posted, and it kind of started me on this whole journey. And then I want to talk to you, what happens at midnight? Okay, so if that's 11th hour, what are the cool things that happen at midnight? So that's that. But now I'm going to share something amazing with you that somebody shared with me on Facebook Messenger that is amazing. So I'm going to read it. Their message, and it's kind of about why 2020, 2021, whatever, and year 5781 is, I believe, it. Like, this is just amazing. So I'm going to read it and then come talk to you again in a second after I finish reading it. Hi, Deborah. Thought you would find this info interesting. Most Christians know the significance of 490 years, 70 weeks, prophecy from Daniel. It points to the first coming of Messiah in year 32 AD. And it also leaves a 7 years of tribulation to be fulfilled, which would be Daniel's 70th week. At the end of this tribulation, Jesus returns to Jerusalem. But what if 490 years hides another mystery from God? Has God set aside another 490 years for Israel and Jerusalem? King David began his reign in 1010 BC. There's going to be some math involved here, and I'm going to try to find a way to copy and paste all of this in maybe the comment section so you can kind of like try to understand the math in this. He reigned for 40 years. Okay, let me go back. King David began his reign in 1010 BC, and he reigned for 40 years. And he died at the age of 70 years old, which is interesting because we know from Psalms, a generation is 70 years, 80 by strength. And we weren't ever sure, like, what is a generation, but that makes the most logical sense. That's how long people live. People don't live to be 120 years old, and people don't live to be 40 years old. So this makes the most logical sense. And David, it's like, I think it was significant he died at 70. But the actual years of reign from Jerusalem is 33 years, since he also reigned in Hebron for 7 years. I find that interesting because Jesus was 33 when he died and rose again. But anyway, let's get back to this. So the actual reign from Jerusalem would be 33 years because he also reigned in Hebron for 7 years. This is going to matter. That's from 2 Samuel 5:5. So from 1003 BC, which is 1010, when we first started calculating, when David reigned, but we took away 7 years because of Hebron, King David ruled from Jerusalem. So it'd be 1003 years. So from then, when King David ruled from Jerusalem to 586 BC, the destruction of the first temple and the lost of nation status, there were a total of 417 years. So from the time he really reigned, minus Hebron, to when the first temple was destroyed, it was a total of 417 years of Israel being a sovereign nation, ruling from Jerusalem. 1003 BC minus 586 BC. So if 7 years tribulation begins in 2021, let's just say this all starts in 2021, from the rebirth of Israel in 1948 to 2021, there are 73 years. We know that we're almost at the 73rd year. And then adding 73 years to the 417 years of Israel being a sovereign nation, remember that, what do you get? You get 490 years, which is literally Daniel's prophecy. Okay, we're going to simply break it down in a second, but just remember this. I've never heard this before, ever. The math's a little confusing, but I'll somehow put it somewhere for you to look at it again. This is crazy. So you have to minus the 7 years from Hebron to get this number, to get when David started ruling to when the first temple was destroyed, which is 417 years. And then you add on 73 years, which from Israel becoming a nation. You add the 73 years to the 417, that gives you 490. Simply put, from David's reign in Jerusalem to 2021, God has numbered David's successive kingdoms for 490 years. That is crazy. So beginning from 2021, God begins to shake David's descendants. The purpose is to bring Israel and Judah to their Messiah, Jesus. So it's Jacob's trouble. So we know that the 490 years, it was about the time coming, it was pointing to the first coming of Messiah. It was his prophecy to point at the coming of Messiah. And then there was this other 7 years. But if you look at, what if he was counting also David's reign, his succession? This is amazing. I know it's hard numerically, but it's amazing. I've never heard this before. So basically, let me say that simply again. Simply put, from David's reign in Jerusalem to 2021, next year, or like any minute, God has numbered David's successive kingdoms for 490 years. Because remember, from the time the temple was destroyed, there was a big gap. No more Israel. Big gap. Then you add the 73 years to the 417, and you get 2021. And it's 490 years. I hope you guys are getting this. That is amazing. So wasn't that so amazing, guys? Like, I have never heard that before. That is just another way to look at it. That adds up to 490 years of the Davidic dynasty. Like if you take away all the years when it wasn't a sovereign nation and you add it up, it brings you to 2021, just like Daniel's prophecy. It brings you right to 2021. And then he gets the last 7 years. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but to me, 5781, 20, the reason why I showed that little that little calendar switching from 2020 to 2021 because I wasn't really shown 2021. He just said, give it one more year. So it kind of brings you there, but I don't know if it's a full year. 5781, I feel like I got more confirmation on that. In 81, there's going to be a birth, and my daughter's dream that she was in the Father's house in year 81 kind of thing. So to me, I felt like that was more significant, but all of this lines up with the fig tree prophecy. Like all of it lines up with the fig tree prophecy. So, and the 11th hour, doesn't it make sense? Like he'd bring you right to the last minute. And then what is midnight? Okay. Midnight would be 2021 would just be the exact end of it, you know, like because of the fig tree prophecy, it would give you the 73 years for 7 years left for it to get to the 80 years. Anyway, here's another cool thing that the same friend of mine on Facebook sent me. Okay, so look at this. I didn't know about this. I wasn't watching back then. I know a lot of you people probably were and know about this. Oh, for crying out loud. Anyway, so 2014, these calves were born, one of them being a red heifer, funny enough, with 7s on their forehead, okay? So in 2014, 2 calves were born in the United States with 7s on their forehead. And it looks like a lot of people reported on it and really thought this was prophetic, which, yeah. And it's like the dream that Joseph interpreted with the 7 years of famine and 7 years of plenty or whatever, plenty and then the famine. And we know Daniel's 70th week is 7 years. Jacob's trouble is 7 years. And even the other cool thing was it landed on a Shemitah year. I don't even know what that is. And then it also landed on basically Feast of Trumpets. So in 2014, Feast of Trumpets was on the 25th and the second calf was born on the 25th. So it was actually born on the Feast of Trumpets, okay? But think about it, 2014 to 2021, what does that give you? 7 years. So what if the 7 years was from 2014 to 2021, significantly representing something in the spirit realm, and then the next 7 years is the tribulation. So 2014 was like the warning. Maybe it was the first fat, healthy years, 2014 to 2021, sorry. And then 2021 is the tribulation, 2021 to 2028. Again, I hope it's in 2020. Look, I'm just showing you all this proof. This is crazy though. These calves born in the Shemitah year and on Feast of Trumpets, and there's 2 of them in the United States, and it brings you right to 2021. Okay. Yeah, basically, I just want to go back, talk for one more second about the 11th hour. So first, I'm just giving you, like I said, I'm giving you all this proof to like support 2020, 2021 more so, and 5781. But again, with the 11th hour, with my twins and everything that God showed me us being in the 11th hour, I thought, let me look into what happens at midnight in the Bible. Like, what are the different verses that talk about what happened at midnight? And so I just Googled that because if we're in the 11th hour and we're in the middle of that time period where you're just like, oh my gosh, when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? When is this birth going to come? When are these twin births going to come? The Antichrist and the man of sin and the man child. Anyway, so let's see, what does the Bible say happens at midnight? Okay, I don't know if you can hear anything in the background, but my children are practicing instruments and other things. So I don't know what you can hear, but hopefully it's okay. Anyway, look at this verse I found, Ruth 3:8. And it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. What is that? That's the engagement to be married at midnight. I was like, the minute I heard that, I'm like, oh, they're about to be married. There's a wedding. Hello, a wedding, bride of Christ. And she ends up having a male child from that, union or whatever. And I'm pretty sure Boaz represents the kinsman redeemer, which is like Jesus, and he's the bridegroom. And Ruth was a Gentile bride. Hello, that's us. Oh my gosh. So at midnight, they got engaged or tied together. And the engagement back then was the same as marriage. So that was cool at midnight, okay? What else? This one's insane. Look at this. Job 34, okay? Verse 20. In a moment, they die. At midnight, the people are shaken and pass away, and the mighty are taken away by no human hand. What? Let me read that again. This is in Job, okay? In a moment, they die. This is like the tribulation. At midnight, the people are shaken. So we're in the 11th hour. So at midnight, oh my gosh, there's so much noise in my house. Okay, at midnight, the people are shaken and they pass away. Tribulation. And the mighty are taken away by no human hand. Does that not sound like the rapture? I was like, Guys, look what I'm bringing here. Not me, the Lord. Like, this is amazing. What? In Job? That the mighty are taken away by no human hand? In Job? Okay. And this, I was like, well, maybe the mighty are the evil ones. But just before, he says this: if you have understanding, hear this. This is I was just reading. This is the verse before it. Shall one who hates justice govern? Will you condemn him who is righteous and mighty? So the mighty, he's saying, are the righteous. So who is taken away by no human hand? He said it's the mighty. So he's not talking about bad people. He's saying the mighty, the righteous ones, are going to be taken away by no human hand. Why is Job even saying this? And it says, in a moment, first they die at midnight. We're in the 11th hour. And at midnight, Ruth gets married to the kinsman redeemer, a Gentile bride at midnight. And this is when the tribulation happens and people are shaken and passed away. And then the mighty are taken by no human hand. Okay, this is the same like when I found in Micah. Man, I wish I had this verse on me. But you guys, you must have seen my video. Man, when I found in Micah and it said, Israel will be abandoned until she who is in labor gives birth. That's in Micah, okay? What? That's Revelation 12. Israel will be abandoned till she who gives birth, till she who is in labor gives birth or pregnant gives birth. I mean, come on, guys. This is crazy. He's opening stuff up in the end because when I found this Job verse, I'm like, the mighty get taken away with no human hand. That sounds like the rapture. Okay? They're just gone, but yet everyone else passed away. And that's at midnight. And even when I said, Lord, just show me stuff that happens at midnight. So this all ties in, guys. This all ties in. But what's the biggest thing that happens at midnight? We know that at midnight, the bridegroom comes, right? In the virgins, the 5 wise, 5 foolish virgins, that I wish I had that verse. I didn't get the verse, but you guys all know the parable of the foolish and wise virgins. He comes at midnight. So that's the big midnight call, that's the bridegroom calls at midnight or whatever. So if we're in the 11th hour, then we know rapture is midnight. And it's symbolic, obviously. I don't know that he's going to come at midnight. Remember, that's why when he says no one knows the day and hour, like literally it's going to be a different day and hour in every different country. Like think about it. It says 2 will be in the field, 2 will be at the mill, 2 will be in bed sleeping, because it'll be the middle of the night one place and it's going to be like day in another place, clearly. So that's why you can't know the day or hour, because it'll be like a different day and hour. I mean, other people say it's not about that verse. Like even if that verse is about the rapture or not, it doesn't matter. But the point is it would be different days and hours for every place in the world. And that actually is cool because think about it, back then, I don't think they knew. I'm not sure. I thought I heard they didn't know like that how in the globe, different people, it was different hours of days, different time periods in different places. So it kind of shows like a supernatural knowledge of it's day over here and it's night over there, something like that. But that's pretty cool anyway. But that's the midnight hour. And this is kind of cheesy picture, but it's cute. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, all this nuggets, all these amazing things he was giving me just to tie everything all into the 2021 kind of situation, the barren fig tree, the fig tree prophecy. Then when I read you about the 490 years, and if you take out all those years they weren't a sovereign nation, you put it together and you add it to like, well, what I read. I mean, the math alone is a little complicated, but the point is, the 17 years, I think. Okay, I can't remember now. But the point is, it brings you to 2021, okay? So it's like the Davidic sovereignty, like, prophecy. I don't know, which is amazing. So basically, that's something I never heard before. Then you got those calves, and 2014 to 2021 is 7 years. That would be like the 7 fat years. And then you have the 2021 to 2028, I guess, would be the lean years, tribulation. But it says the days will be shortened, so I don't know if it's going to be exactly 7 years or how that's going to work. And then you have the prophecies in the Psalms, and well, I just laid it all out for you, and I showed you, I talked to you about my daughter's dream and all this different stuff. So there's so much proof here, and I thought it was really encouraging because I have never heard what that friend of mine on Messenger sent me about the 490 years. That's a different way to look at it. And then it brings you right to where it brings you. And then what is that? That's the fig tree prophecy ends, kind of, if you look at it, 73 years, right? So that would be midnight. That would be the 11th hour. Sorry, I mean like we are in the 11th hour. So I hope I summed everything up. I hope I did. This was something I was trying to get out and it was just, I wasn't finding the time, but I really hope I covered everything, but those are some cool things, right, guys? Like some new things. I mean, I know some of you have been watching since 2014, so you would know some of that stuff, but it's all coming like kind of together now. And, the red heifer is of age, like everything. Well, that's another thing. The red heifer, like the one that has no blemishes on it, there was two. Then now I think they're down to one. And then they found another one recently, I think in, South America somewhere. Anyway, the point is they got what they need to get done, And the setup is happening. And it's just really, really hard because whenever you're at the brink of something just before it happens, like you want to give up or you want to like just break down or you want to just, I don't know, like you get that feeling because you're like almost at the end. So it's kind of like this feeling of I just give up, but it's like you want to give up right before you break through. It's so frustrating because like it's that feeling of I just can't do this anymore, but you're literally at the breakthrough. I mean, if I'm wrong about all of this and the fig tree prophecy we're interpreting wrong, like I never don't address things. I will address it. I will talk about it. Like I would never just leave you guys hanging about it. Inevitably, I would be in absolute shock. Like different dates and times and thoughts and things have come and gone, but this, I would be in shock. All these things together, oh my goodness, I can't imagine that it's not what we all think it is. And I did want to mention quickly about seasons. And I still always think it's like a spring thing just because of the Song of Solomon, spring wedding, and the harvest. Like I believe it has to be in the harvest season, like not the winter and probably not like the dead of summer. Israel only has 2 seasons, summer and winter, but like there's times when they harvest because he said 2 will be at the mill and, and 2 will be in the field, like whatever, harvesting or whatever. So I just think like I always get the spring vibe because of, like I said, Song of Solomon and a couple other things. So I don't know, like fall obviously makes sense too because of the fact that, you harvest at that time as well. I always get the spring vibe and that's wedding season. Like, I don't know. I don't know about all of that, but we got to just hold on to the nuggets that he's given us. So that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it was like encouraging and like, wow, there's things there I never heard before. And yeah, I guess that's it. So, there's other things I was going to touch on, but I think I'm going to just let it go for now. I'm just going to there's other things. Let's just let it go. I think we're just going to end on a positive note, a happy note. And look how happy Jesus looks in this picture. I'm pretty sure he doesn't look like this, but I'm sure he'll be that happy. But it's just a sweet picture. Anyway, so I guess that's that. I guess, I'll end it there. So I hope you have a blessed day or evening, whatever time it is where you are. And I will talk to you guys again soon. So until next time, God bless and shalom.